Hi everyone, my name is Kellie Vella and I'd like to take you through a case study of designing to reduce music festival campsite waste. I'd also like to thank the Queensland University of Technology and my project partners for their contributions, Green Music Australia, Strawberry Fields Festival, Byron Shire Council and Mullum Cares. This project aimed to learn about the factors driving music festival campsite waste and propose a set of socio-technical interventions and engage with them. From this, we hope to derive a design direction for the remainder of the project. Now, when I started this project, I thought, well, finally, a way to bring together my love of research, sustainability, and partying / the arts. And I was inspired by people like Annie Leonard, who's behind the really great little animation called The Story of Stuff that unpacks the relationships between waste, capitalism, and globalization. Her quote, "There is no such thing as a way. When we throw anything away, it must go somewhere," really stuck with me. And one of the things I realized early on was just how invisible and powerful are the relations that create waste. The invisibility of waste is particularly apparent when you try to research exactly how much waste is produced by festivals, let alone their campsites. I'm having to single out Splendour in the Grass as an example, a 3-day camping music festival set in the north coast of New South Wales, Australia. And I have to choose them simply because they were forced to share this data in an environmental impact report for their local council. So in 2017, there were only 35,000 patrons, I think it's almost double now, and they were producing 262 tonnes of general waste, which was primarily landfill. And as you can see, the landfill produced by the campgrounds was over half of all the waste produced by the event. Now that's just one festival, of course, and not the largest one. A similar impact report for Coachella, a major US festival, has estimated that they would produce over 5 times this amount every year. But again, there's little information about how much is produced by the campgrounds. Now on the plus side, festivals are also places where youth culture and the arts find expression. And in this, festivals are uniquely positioned to foster new ways of living, including care for the land and environment, as they provide a space for experimentation, socializing, and creativity that's a perfect match for youth culture's openness to new experiences. And certainly there are festivals that deliberately set out to do this. In Australia, the Woodford Folk Festival is one such event, and I'm sure there are many others worldwide. So what makes a festival go from this to this? To answer that question, I conducted interviews and workshops with festival patrons and professionals, and I found 4 key drivers of campsite waste, namely the proliferation of cheap and breakable camping equipment, amongst many other items, highly social camping, within which social proof was driving both desirable and undesirable practices. For example, patrons might leave things behind if they saw others doing that, or buy things that they saw in other campsites that they thought were cool. Alternatively, they could also make more effort if their neighbours also did, and this effect was described as a contagion. Land relations. These relations are layered because they are both economic and physical. They also talk to responsibility and factors outside our control, like the weather. And finally, the continuity of management decisions. And by continuity, I mean the way in which management decisions either supported or undermined the festival's sustainability goals. There is a lot more research that could be done on this topic alone. The interviews in the workshops also covered the festival timeline and work practices. I looked at patron social organisation practices as they pertain to organising for and camping at festivals, and a wide range of waste reduction strategies that had or were currently being trialled. And this provided a lot of context for technology deployment. For example, it was useful to know that mobile phone reception or even power for batteries wasn't a given at all the festivals. It also gave us a sense of what technologies we might be able to use. For example, RFID wristbands for cashless purchasing is becoming more and more popular. And what waste reduction strategies had already been trialled. And finally, it gave me a sense of the politics of this space, both within and between festivals and other organisations. And in regards to this last point, this was a sticky web indeed. So consequently, it became obvious that whatever strategy ended up being further developed would require some buy-in from a range of actors. Anyway, After a series of cuts were made, and please see the paper for that process, 5 strategies were proposed that sat at different points in the festival timeline. These were presented, to a range of festival managers for feedback to get a sense of which ones would have their buy-in and which would not. So in the before festival phase, you can see our patron camping planner to influence decisions being made before attendance. During the festival, we proposed campsite identification and on-site patron-led reporting of waste issues during the festival. And after the festival, though this could also occur during, we proposed patron-led gear evaluation to provide feedback to other campers and also to collect some data on brands for future campaigns. And we suggested a tool to help the evaluation of waste strategies and data sharing between festivals. Waste data and knowledge about strategy effectiveness is fairly siloed in this industry. So what did I learn from all this and might have some usefulness for other projects designing for sustainability or other wicked problems? Well, firstly, you can't avoid being situated within relations, and working with them requires, to quote Suchman, artful integration into existing practices. Also, there were no actors included in this study that were not contributing to the problem or that did not want to make improvements on it. So operating in the relational space between those actors seemed like a way in which to influence structural change. In this case, to move towards minimalist, sustainable camping. It's worth noting, though, that other relations need to be considered as well. For example, those between local councils and festivals, as the scale of events greatly impacts sustainability outcomes. Secondly, waste is a result of the meaning, or the lack of meaning, given to objects within social relations. For example, camping gear that was borrowed from family was cared for and returned, while cheap, last-minute purchases were not. How can social relations be leveraged to make minimalism meaningful? Or alternatively, how might Indigenous worldviews be embedded in land relations to increase meaningful connection to and care for country? Telling invisible stories is not a new idea. However, when it comes to waste, the hidden flows of capital and distant to us labour and repercussions are very real. Being able to tell these stories depends largely on who we choose to partner with and how we are situated in those relations. Finally, this study showed several leverage points, both social and temporal, that can be used to change practices and ultimately cultures. Considering social groups and the labour that happens within them as uneven demonstrates who might need greater support to change practices. And considering timelines of events, relationships with partners, even the seasons, provides openings for intervention as well as reflection, reinvention and reiteration. These last options are important when considering how designs may be appropriated over time, leading to unexpected outcomes and the need for flexible approaches. So thank you. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email, and I'd like to thank once again Green Music Australia, Strawberry Fields Festival, Byron Shire Council, Mullum Cares, and of course Queensland University of Technology and the New South Wales Environmental Trust for their support of this research.